Let's continue working with our selecting of pixels by using our elliptical marquee tool. So we will go up to where our rectangle marquee tool is, and we're going to click and hold down so that we can see our other tool options, and we're going to choose the elliptical marquee tool. Now on here, your tool will look the same with the crosshairs. I just want to show you, again, I'd like you to watch and not practice. Unless you want to practice, just make sure that you always control D to deselect as we go through this, because you don't want to make a selection and then move it. Of course, you can use your history panel too. So your choice. So let's talk about this. I'm going to zoom in on my fourth shape, which is the circle. And I'm going to grab my marquee tool again. And I'm just going to click kind of up on the upper left hand corner and try to drag to select a circle. So if you use the marquee tool without hitting any buttons on your keyboard, you're going to see that it's kind of like the unconstrained crop tool, in and of the fact that you can make this any size that you want. However, you can make it thin and long, you could make it tall and short, you can make it really fat. However, the one thing that you're not really able to do is get that perfect circle. Okay, so that's kind of difficult if you have a specific shape that you're trying to select. So I'm going to let go and do a Control D. And now I want to show you what happens when we hold our Shift key down with the elliptical marquee tool. So once again, I'm going to hold my key, Shift key down, and click and drag. Now notice what happens is that I am grabbing or drawing a perfect circle. I'm going to do this actually off to the side so you can see it a little bit better. Notice that my proportions stay together. It's a perfect circle as I drag in and out. So what the Shift key does with the elliptical marquee tool is it makes a perfect circle. You couldn't, I'm trying right now to make it thin and long or thin and tall, squish it together, fatten it out, and I can't because my Shift key is keeping the proportions. Okay, so as much as I like trying to make that happen here, it still doesn't allow me to do a very good job of selecting that circle. So I'm going to let go, and now I'm going to use my Alt key. So what my Alt key does is I'm going to do it over here again so you can see. My Alt key allows me to make a circle coming out from the center. Okay, the Alt key lets me come out from the center, but notice that my proportions are not constrained. So I could still make it thin and tall, thin and horizontal, fat, however I want it to go, but my Alt key allows me to drag out from the center of something. So technically what we want to do right now in order to try to select this shape number 4 is we're actually going to hold down our Alt and our Shift key at the same time. And I will tell you that this number 4 is one of the trickiest ones. Another tip for you is to make sure that you release your mouse button before you let go of the Shift or the Alt keys, because they can, if you let go of either of those first, they will let go of their constrained proportions and you'll get a funky looking thing. So that is the point of this little white dot in the middle, is that's where we want to line up our cursor to start. So I'm going to line it up there. I'm going to click my Shift and my Alt key together, and then I am going to click with my mouse and drag out and do my best to try to get this as close to the edge without going over as possible. Now the other thing I haven't quite showed you yet is that if you get close, I'm going to let go right about here. Right about here. So I'm going to let go of my mouse first, and then I let go of my Shift and my Alt. What you can actually do is you can, with your keys, move your selection. So I'm actually using my arrow keys on my keyboard right now, trying to reposition this so that I haven't grabbed a ton of white around the edges. And like I said, you could spend an entire period trying to get this perfect. When you do your assignment, I do want you to spend some time trying to get it as close as possible. But for the sake of this lesson, I'm not going to spend an entire 15 minutes trying to get this perfect. But you can move your marquee once you have it made. You can move that around without moving your selection. When you grab your move tool, however, that is when you will end up moving the actual colored pixels. So just make sure you're prepared for that. So once you're happy with your selection, just like before, we're going to grab and move over, and you can see I left a little bit here, and that's okay. For the lesson, I'm okay with that just because we don't have all of the time in the world to spend. So you'll see that when I try to position this, I'm going to have a little bit of a white ring around. Line it up as best you can and then hit deselect. And you'll see that's what it ends up kind of looking like. So like I said, the elliptical one is kind of hard to master just because you do have to hold two keys down and it's just a finicky one to try to get close. But do your best. And now in our next videos, we're going to talk about using a couple of other selection techniques to do 5, 6, and 7.